Hi everyone, my name is Colin. I am a junior at the Nueva School. I'm here representing as a member of the San Mateo County Youth Commission, which is Noor is also part of it, and we provide a youth voice and youth perspective to the Board of Supervisors of San Mateo County. And it's been a really meaningful experience getting to know and meet a diverse group of students and also make actionable change for all people in San Mateo County. We're really excited to have you at this panel and hear more about ways that you can get involved beyond voting. So first, we're just going to introduce our speakers here. I've asked all of them, and they would like to be referred to by their first name. So we'll go down the line, starting with Yajaira.
Hi, everyone. Happy Saturday. I'm so excited that you all are here and made the time to hang out with your friends and learn a little bit about what's at stake and how to participate in civic participation. My name is Yajaira Ortega, and I work for Thrive Alliance. We're a local nonprofit in San Mateo County. You can think of Thrive as a nonprofit that supports other nonprofits in a variety of ways. My particular portfolio is all things civic participation. We like to call it healthy democracy, all things policy and equity. So that's my role, that's my daytime job. But I'm always here as just a community member who is invested in young people getting invested in our democracy. So thanks for making time for being here.
Hi, my name is James Coleman. I'm currently proudly serving as the mayor of South San Francisco. And first I want to poll everyone. How many of you are in high school? College? Middle school? Lifelong learners? That's everyone. That's all of you. So it's very great to see such a diverse crowd. And I first started getting involved in high school in my IRF club. And the IRF club is notoriously a slippery slope to becoming mayor, as they say. And so, I was elected when I was at the age of 21. I was a junior in college and elected to the city council, and then I was sworn in as mayor late last year in December.
Hi everyone, I'm Noor. I'm a senior at San Mateo High School, and I'm the chair of the San Mateo County Youth Commission. I've been on the Youth Commission, this is going to be my third year, and I've been a member of the Immigrant Youth Subcommittee of the Youth Commission. We have different subcommittees. It kind of varies by year because they're ad hoc, which means that we sort of decide on them based on what we think are the most prevalent issues facing youth for that term. And yeah.
Perfect. So as you can see, with the speakers that we have today, we really aim to bring a diverse group of people who represent different parts and different needs of San Mateo County. So hopefully this will reflect kind of the different moving parts of this election season and just the county as a whole. So continuing with the poll, we want to get to see kind of your answers to different questions. So if this applies to you, if the answer is yes, please raise your hand if you're comfortable. So first, please raise your hand if you watched the presidential debate last week. If you are pre-registered or registered to vote. If you have ever given public comment at an official city or county meeting. If you know who the mayor of your city is. If you know which supervisorial district you live in. If you've written a letter to a legislator. If you've supported a candidate through door-to-door campaigning. And finally, if you've ever run for local office. Great, so we just wanted to get an even better representation of our audience, and it's great that we make up so many different parts of the county, and also have various people who have done different things beyond voting to get involved in civic engagement. So we have a couple of questions for the speakers, and then we're going to open it up to Q&A at the end as well. So our first question is, why do you do what you do? And again, we'll go down the line.
So my journey actually started early in high school. I started realizing that I belong to a demographic that was not as represented in my current high school system. And I decided to get involved just in the high schools. Um, I was very passionate and still am about language access throughout my high school. And I started a small little club called the Bilingual Student Ambassadors to try to get students to volunteer to translate, interpret for their parents at any high school meetings that parents wanted to be present at. And now, currently, I still oversee a program of interpreters and translators for nonprofit sectors in San Mateo County. So it's all full circle. But since that moment, I realized that just a single person, a single girl in high school had a lot of power to make something happen as long as I was willing to put in the work, right? And the reality is that there's probably something that you want to do or something that you see is a little off and you might want to change. And you just have to find someone else who also equally cares about that. And if not, then you can do it alone, right? But once you get that engagement and once you're excited about something, other people can't avoid your energy, right? If you're excited about something, then that's where you can put effort into it and people will be attracted to that. And this club ended up being like we had 3 languages, up to 30 students who were translating, interpreting for their parents. But that was a very small way that I try to make a change in my high school. After that, I learned that just one single person can make a difference to change a single thing, right? And it just took me on this path through college and now where I am in my professional life, where I realized that if I really care about something, there's someone else that actually also cares about that. And there's probably someone in a position of power that actually cares about that. So why don't we all just work together to try to make that something happen?
So I like to go back to kind of, why I ran in the first place. And, growing up, I was born and raised in South San Francisco. So it really is home, where I'm currently representing the neighborhood. And my upbringing, when I was 5 years old, my father suffered a traumatic injury that left him paralyzed from the waist down. And my mother had to work 2 jobs in order to make ends meet. And growing up, when our family could not find childcare, I'd oftentimes be in the break room of Kaiser Permanente because that's where my mother worked and is oftentimes our only option. And so growing up, that made me want to do 2 things. It made me want to study biology, specifically regenerative biology to learn how people can heal, but also study government to learn how we can make our community truly work for everyone. Fast forward a few years, I graduated K through 12 public high school, and I went to Harvard University where I was studying biology and government. I was on track. I was on the pre-med track. I was going to go to med school, but that was really quickly turned upside down because of the COVID pandemic. I was evacuated off of campus. It was the first college in the United States that evacuated their campus back in March of 2022. Came back to my hometown of South San Francisco. And you can imagine what the world was like in 2020. Of course, you had the COVID pandemic wreaking havoc on housing, healthcare, education, and childcare systems. And then we saw how there was a public health crisis within our systems of public safety, with the movement for Black lives and with the rise in anti-Asian hate just sweeping all across the country. And what happened was a lot of young people and I, we were back home from college, right? We started going to city council meetings. We were advocating for change, for more mental health resources. And what had happened was the old mayor decided to shut down public comment, didn't want to hear from us. And when that happened, over 150 public commenters were effectively silenced by the old mayor. And we knew we had to hold our elected leaders accountable. And I like to tell a story. I didn't initially want to run because little did I know that I'd be back on campus. I'd be enjoying my senior year. I didn't want to run, and actually, I was preparing to help someone else to run. Like we were looking for a candidate, and so I did this thing called pulling papers, which is basically I went to the city clerk and I pulled all the forms that you had to sign to file to be a candidate. And the reason why I did that was I was going to help someone else, and so I wanted to get the paperwork to know exactly what we would be getting into. But pulling papers is public. And so I started getting calls and emails from people saying, "Oh my God, you're running. Oh my God, you're running." And I wasn't initially going to run. I said, no, it's not going to happen. And then the day before the filing deadline, we couldn't find anyone to run. And something clicked that said that it would be a shame if there was no contested election in the city at a time when working families were struggling all throughout South San Francisco. And that's what made me decide to run in the middle of my junior year of college. And through a grassroots campaign, through a campaign that was literally run by college students and high school students, I was elected as the city's youngest ever and first openly LGBTQ council member in city history.
Okay, I don't know how I'm gonna follow that, but so my story is a little bit like on the like weird side, but basically in 2017, I was on a cruise with my family in the Mediterranean Sea. And we were about halfway through our cruise when, my brother and I were like eating breakfast on the deck, and suddenly the captain's like announcement comes up overboard and or over the announcements, and he's like, well, my apologies, but we have to stop the ship. We've come across like this boat filled with people. And I was like, oh my gosh. So there's a commotion across the deck, and me and my brother like run over to the other side, and what we see is like this small, bright blue dinghy floating in the waters of the Mediterranean, and it's packed to the brim with people. And we were like, this is, insane. We've never seen anything like this in person. And one of the people, he was waving like a tattered white t shirt as a makeshift flag in the wind. And so 2017, I was like 10 years old. So I kind of didn't know what to do with this, but what I did know was that something that had been an abstract concept to me that I only really saw on the news had, presented itself in real life. And, I started to kind of get more interested because I was like, what's going on? And I learned that in 2017, over 178,000 refugees from Syria, the Ivory Coast, Guinea, all these different places had crossed the Mediterranean to go to Europe. And so being 10, I kind of didn't know what to do with this, but I just sort of wanted to see what I could do in my community. And I sort of started to learn that, despite California being a sanctuary state, I think that resources for immigrants still remains elusive here. And it can become a really big issue, and it is a really big issue. And so that's sort of what inspired me to get involved. I've joined organizations that also help immigrants and help underserved people in our county. But then it also led me to the Youth Commission, which I'm really grateful for because I started attending meetings not as a member but as a volunteer when it was still like online. Like every meeting was online. But even on the online meetings, I could see that it was such a like great group of passionate people who were inspired to make a difference. And so I joined the Immigrant Youth Subcommittee, as you guys heard, and we've been able to, pass out Know Your Rights cards to community colleges and recreation centers and libraries and hold scholarships. So yeah, that's kind of how I got there.
As you can see, these stories are extremely inspiring, and all of these speakers are extremely passionate about what they do. So we encourage you afterwards, whether it's through the Q&A portion or just coming up to one of these speakers, to ask more and learn more about how they got involved and ways that you can get involved as well. So that kind of leads me into our next question, which is, what is one or more issues that you are passionate about, and what have you done to make change in that area?
I care about a lot of things. That's a problem with, and I'm sure you all do as well. I mean, you're all very young, but you still have access to social media and other people and what's going on in the news. And I'm sure there's things that, whether we want to or not, like it still affects us, right? One thing that I've taken on in my personal life is I've always been a strong advocate for undocumented students and documented people in general. And I remember going through systems where they just lacked an opportunity to present themselves or be present in the room. And I've always wondered about where's the loophole, right? There's always an opportunity to get folks involved that are not currently in the room. I'm passionate about a variety of ways, but um, I think I've been proud to say that I've made some real movements with people that care about the same things by making space for folks that are not usually invited to the conversation. And this can be on anything, right? Some people care about environment, some people care about immigrant rights, some people care about LGBTQ plus rights, right? There's just a variety of ways to get involved, and I'm sure that there's a way that you care about and you show up in this world that matters to you. And I'm here to tell you that whatever part you want to contribute, you're able to, right? Your causes are the causes of other people. You're not alone in this place, you're not alone in this world. And if at a minimum, I think it's beneficial to be more involved locally, right? Because you can actually make change, right? They all pointed out, I don't know if they pointed out or Petra, but making public comment. The minimum we can do is figure out what are city council, what are your commissioners talking about? How can you get on the agenda? What's important to you that's important to them? How can you get involved that way? Because there's so many ways to get involved locally. I work on a county-wide basis, so I work a lot with the board of supervisors, and they welcome youth. People are eager to have youth around them, and I don't know if they just don't know where to look or how to attract them. I am not sure. Maybe you all can answer my question. I don't get to work with youth a lot, but I work with partners, other nonprofits that are dedicated to fostering leadership in youth and fostering other kinds of passions in youth. So I'm just here to tell you that there's a way for anyone and everyone to get involved. And now there's multiple ways, right? Like the city council meetings, all the supervisor meetings are on Zoom too. So you can be at home making whatever you need to going on about your business and listening into whatever's happening, looking at the agenda beforehand and making sure you can make your voice heard that way. And if you, let's say you know about something that's important to you, find someone else that it's important to and invite them to the meeting. I got a lot of my friends to join things that they were not passionate about, and then later on found out this is kind of cool. There's a group of people that care about something and they have some fun doing it together. So there's a lot of fun ways to learn, and there's a lot of ways to get involved. Find somebody who likes what you like and go after it.
Great, thank you. And there are definitely many, many ways to get involved. And when you look at so many of the issues and so many of the social movements throughout the history of the United States, youth have always been at the forefront of the social movements. Every single one. Divestment from South African apartheid, all over college campuses. Fossil fuel divestment, which I was involved in when I was on campus, all youth led. The women's rights movement, the LGBTQ rights movement, the civil rights movement, all occurred on college campuses and were very much youth led. When I think about so many of the issues, I mean, there are so many that are facing, that our communities are facing, but I think one of the issues that I'm probably the most passionate about is housing, specifically affordable housing. And that issue is so inextricably linked to so many others, right? Whether it be climate change, racial and social justice, transportation, homelessness, right? All that is linked to the availability of affordable housing and housing of all income levels within your community. And when you look at the issues that impacts young people the most, it's the lack of affordable housing, right? I still live with my mom, and I love my mom. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But when I door knock all throughout South San Francisco, I see so many people in their 30s living with people in their 50s and 60s, people in their 40s living with their family members of their 60s and 70s. And we're starting to see, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? We're seeing more multi-generational households throughout San Mateo County, but this was not the norm in the history of the United States. It's mainly because of so many young people who cannot find an affordable place to live. They cannot afford a multi-million-dollar home. They cannot afford paying $3,000 or more per month in rent. When you look at California, 2 in 5 Californians are rent burdened, which means they pay 30% or more of their income on rent. 1 in 5 Californians pay 50% or more of their income on housing costs. And this is not just an issue that affects young people, it affects all generations. When you look at the fastest growing homeless population in San Mateo County, it's unhoused seniors above the age of 55 who are more times than not homeless for their first time in their lives, past the age of 55. 4 in 10 homeless people, newly homeless, are over the age of 55 for the first time in their lives. A lot of that due to, having a fixed income, the loss of a spouse, but also the lack of affordable housing options. And so I could talk all day about why we need more housing at all income levels and definitely affordable housing. But I think it's past time that our cities and our state government has a more direct role in the production of affordable housing. I call it city-owned or city-owned or city-managed affordable housing or mixed-income social housing. There are a variety of terms that can describe that. But basically, our cities need to take a more direct role because the private market is not going to cut the deal.
Yeah, and then in keeping with the themes of, I think, just like people getting involved, I think a big thing that I've seen, like what I was talking about before, with a lack of awareness of resources and a lack of accessibility to resources, I think that's really important because there are so many great resources out there. But I think that there's a disconnect between the people who need them and where those resources are and how they're going to get there. And so that's sort of what, like, one of the projects that we worked on in the youth commission. But then I think that linked to that is also sort of like youth mental health and youth loneliness, because loneliness is like a very like important topic to me, because personally for me I can't go like an hour without social connection, otherwise I like lose my mind. But I think, I did some research over the summer, like regarding loneliness, and I think that, I found things that were really sort of mind blowing to me, especially the fact that loneliness can be linked to physical health issues. For example, cardiovascular disease and things like that, I feel can sort of be remedied. Social isolation and loneliness, so those are two different topics. Loneliness is more of a perception, and then social isolation is like a state of being. And I think that both of those two things can be mitigated with the right interventions. And they're really important because humans are like born to connect. We need to connect with each other in order to survive. And that's clear from the fact that loneliness is a risk factor for like physical health outcomes and like issues for like physical health outcomes. So I think that those are sort of all linked together with like a lack of awareness, but then a lack of talking to people and like getting out there and understanding what's available. And then also the final, loneliness is an issue. And San Mateo County has put to $1 million towards, fighting loneliness. Our U.S. Surgeon General has called it an epidemic in our country because it's just been so prevalent, especially after the pandemic. So yeah.
Thank you. And just to build off of what Noor and James said, all these issues are intergenerational. Through the Youth Commission, I've had the privilege to serve as youth liaison to the Commission on Aging. So I've been made aware that many of these issues, ranging from mental health to housing to loneliness, are intergenerational issues that affect young people and old people alike. We'd also love to hear from you guys what issues are important to you. So if you could just spend about 60 seconds talking to the people around you and sharing some of the issues that are important to you, and then we'd love to hear back from the audience as well. So we'll just spend about 1 minute. Sure. Okay. Good to Petra, would you like me to talk more about that?
I'd like to know what Colin's what inspired Colin.
Sure. Well, maybe first we can just get a raise of hands and hear some ideas, and then I can definitely introduce myself, and then we can go through a final question. Anyone want to share?
Okay. So we were talking among the three of us, and we were saying, I'm from National Alliance on Mental Illness. I have a week. I invite everybody to please stop by. We were talking about things that we care about. Right now, in this stage of my life, I care about mental illness a lot. That's why I put my full energy and my kind of calling or vocation there. Mental illness affects everybody. It doesn't matter where you come from, what social status you have, the money you carry in your pocket. One day it just, shows up in your family and it affects the person and the dynamic in the family. So it's very important that everybody carries one of our cards with them because statistics says 1 in 5 adults have a mental disease, whether they are diagnosed or not. Then we can start in a bigger conversation where the shootings in school coming and why loneliness is affecting that. That's a bigger conversation. But right now, this is what is passion for me, and I want to spread the word. That's why I'm here.
Oh, pretty fast. Um, um, I am a senior. I'm already a grown up, and I am very healthy and very enthusiastic. And I agree with all of you how you start to work on things that you are interested in and getting people to work with you. I'm for seniors. I wanna make sure that all the seniors, especially the seniors that speak only one language, I would like to keep them integrated and to have services that they don't have, and it's a big concern because they have to take care of the children, the grandchildren. So seniors cannot enjoy their senior times because the way the society is at this time, they just cannot do it, and they are not gonna say to the kids, to the children, no, I cannot take care of my grandson, so or my grandchild. So I'm working very hard in that and making sure that we are not ignored. But she's okay. She didn't have that. She didn't have that.
Can we hear from one or two other people? And if you could also say your name again.
Hi, my name is Ilsa, and me and my friend talked about something we're kind of passionate about is kind of what Noor was saying, like access to opportunities and like access to resources and how like the disparities between like access to opportunities within people who live in such close proximity to each other, like especially in the Bay Area, there's just a lot of inequality like between young people that live very close to each other, and that's kind of like shocking.
Okay, thank you. I do want to be aware of time, so we have one more question. I'll just briefly answer this question. Um, this is kind of a full circle moment for me. Um, One of the issues that is really important to me is environmental justice. Another one is health equity. Unfortunately, when I was 5, my father passed away from liver cancer. And at about the age of 7 or 8, I gave a speech in this very room to the middle schoolers at Menlo about the importance of getting tested for hepatitis B, which is a leading cause of liver cancer. I talked about the facts, I talked about my personal story, um, and it was really gratifying to see the response by middle schoolers while I was speaking as a middle schooler as well. Um, and then since then, I've been doing a lot of policy advocacy for health equity. We recently passed the bill, California bill, that requires hepatitis B testing in all doctors' offices for adults. So it's really a full circle moment to be able to speak in this room again from 6 or 7 years ago. So our final question is: what is one or two ways to get involved beyond elections in civic engagement? And if you could just answer in 30 to 60 seconds.
Okay, beyond elections, but I have to say, you have to register to vote. The second thing you could probably do is make a public comment at a local meeting. The third thing is join a local club. It sounds like most of you are in middle school, and find other people that are caring about. I just heard that someone woke up this morning and cleaned up a beach, right? Find what you're interested with and do that. There's so many ways, but in terms of like how to find resources and people to connect you to resources, there are people eager to show younger people what there is out there. Nonprofit organizations are always excited to talk to young people. So I know it's not 30 seconds or less, but connect with a nonprofit org in your area and figure out how you can be connected to those resources.
Number one, run for office. You only need to be 18, right? And so you can definitely run. I mean, there are school boards, there are city councils where a youth perspective is really needed. And if you're able to run, then you definitely should. And the second thing is, if you're not quite yet ready to run, you can volunteer and help a candidate get elected. I mean, some of these races are so small to where if you have a core team of 5 people and you spend 2 hours a week, right, just door knock once a week, you can get someone elected. You could talk to hundreds of people, and you can win tons of votes for your candidate of choice. So definitely get involved with your local candidate. Find someone that you're really, really excited about and help them win.
Okay, my two things are join the youth commission and join nonprofits because the youth commission obviously it's like really great. I love it so much. I think everyone who is on the youth commission loves all the people that they work with. Just like in case anyone doesn't know, we advise the board of supervisors. So we go to them about what we think are youth issues, and then each of our subcommittees works on about 2 to 3 projects per year, just sort of looking at, what do we think is something that we can tackle for this term. And we also, pass resolutions with the board of supervisors. We ask them for, grants, for money. So yeah, that. And then for nonprofits, I've been part of a nonprofit called Cake for Kids. I don't know if any of you have heard of it, but I love it so much. It's a nationwide nonprofit, but they have a chapter in the Bay Area, and I'm the operations volunteer for the Bay Area. So basically, I send out. Oh, let me just tell you what Cake for Kids is first. So it's a nonprofit that's dedicated to serving, like delivering baked goods to underserved youth in our county. So I personally send out supplies to all the bakers. And basically, we send it out for special occasions, so birthdays, graduations, and it's a really great way to get involved. I've been with Cake for Kids for like 5 years now. And yeah, so nonprofits, because yeah, like Yajaira said, they're always just like, everyone come help us. And then Youth Commission, because it's great. And we make a lot of actionable change in our county.
And how old do you have to be to apply to the Youth Commission, and when do you apply?
13 to 21, and the application opens usually in May. But you can follow our Instagram, SMC YouthCom, for updates. So yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. So now with our final few moments, if any of you guys have questions, we'd love to hear them and get those answered. Any questions about what they mentioned in the past, maybe their personal experiences? I would say that in addition to what Noor said about the Youth Commission and local nonprofits, I think that one of the best ways is to try to find ways to support current local or state bills. So one of the things that I've been doing is reaching out to offices, at the state level. I worked with Assemblymember Menlo, for example, and just reach out to them and find a bill that you're passionate about and see is there a way that I can support? Can I go to Sacramento for a day to voice my support for this bill? And then in addition to that, I think that there's a lot of nonprofit organizations that are open to having youth join. So for example, 2 years ago, I was able to join the Youth Leadership Institute, which is on the peninsula. They support, all youth throughout the peninsula, and I help them specifically with improving sex education and resources around that space. And then from that experience, I was able to meet Andrea, and she helped me get another opportunity with the U.S. Youth Advisory Council for the New Ocean Decade. I guess my point here is that they all build up, and you can really go from one experience to the other and learn about new perspectives, new ideas, and new opportunities by just getting your foot in the door and just finding one thing to do. And you can learn so much about, I went from sex education to, ocean education and sustainability. And I think there's so many ways to just get involved and find something you're passionate about.
Yeah, and Andrea's out there. If you're a youth and want to get involved in Youth Leadership Institute, she will be able to connect you to amazing opportunities as well.
Yeah.
I can speak out. And I want to invite, because right now, National Alliance on Mental Illness has an opening in the YAC, in the Youth Advisory Commission. So we are located in San Mateo. And if you guys have a friend or know about anybody that is suffering, please step into the booth and look at all the support groups and all the classes that we give to the parents that have kids that suffer from mental illness, and also to the kids. There are support groups, there are classes, there are advocacy to do, there's a youth commission that right now we're looking for young people to do. Please stop to them in any booth and look what the options are. So they are there. I'm hearing what you're saying, that you want the resources. We want to hear from you, you want to hear from us. This is a great opportunity to do that. So please stop and look what we have to offer.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Colin, for moderating. And thank you all for coming and spending your Saturday with us, and all of you for participating. And I hope you enjoyed the day. And I'm going to dash out because I want to know if I can still get a Mr. Softy, because I haven't had time yet. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.